Ladies, let me tell you something. There's a certain kind of power that most people don't talk about. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't demand the room's attention. And yet it shakes people to their core. It's the power of a woman who moves with grace, silence, and self-control, especially when she's been wronged. See, the average man, when he does a woman wrong, is prepared for one of a few reactions. He expects the emotional storm, tears, yelling, accusations, maybe a few choice words in the heat of the moment. He's ready for the long text messages, pouring your heart out, or the social media post laced with subtle jabs. He's mentally armored for drama because drama is predictable. But what he isn't prepared for, what he has no defense against, is a woman who refuses to react the way he expected. A woman who doesn't give him the emotional chaos he counted on. A woman who moves in silence, handles herself with composure, and chooses dignity over destruction. That's the move he'll never see coming. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." And that's exactly where your strength lies. When someone hurts you, your first instinct may be to lash out. But when you step back, breathe, and truly see the situation for what it is, you realize this is not just about what he did. It's also about what it reveals about you. Your boundaries, your worth, your patience, your self-control. That's the real battlefield. Reacting versus responding. Here's the thing. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is instant, emotional, and raw. It's the unfiltered eruption of whatever you're feeling in that moment. Responding is intentional. It's calculated. It's about taking a step back and deciding what energy you want to bring into this situation. When you react, you give him exactly what he was prepared for. He can dismiss your words as emotional. He can twist the narrative to make you look unstable or overly sensitive. But when you respond, or better yet, when you let your absence be the response, you leave him in unfamiliar territory. He doesn't know what to do with a woman who doesn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her unravel. Think of it like chess, not checkers. Every move is deliberate, not impulsive. And here's the beautiful part. You're not even playing to beat him. You're playing to remove yourself from the board entirely, because your life is too valuable to be stuck in a match with someone who doesn't respect the rules. Why emotional control shakes him. Men are not afraid of your tears. They're not afraid of your yelling. They're afraid of losing their place in your life without warning. They're afraid of your silence, because silence is a mirror, and mirrors force self-reflection. Carl Jung also said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." When you choose peace, you're not looking outward for validation or revenge. You're looking inward, deciding what you truly need, and awakening to the fact that his behavior says everything about him and nothing about your worth. Men can handle chaos because chaos still revolves around them. But a woman who detaches, who walks away without explaining herself, forces a man to sit with himself. That's not something every man is equipped to do. The art of the calm goodbye. Picture this. He calls or texts after hurting you, expecting a back and forth. He's ready for you to demand answers or plead for explanations. Instead, you hit him with a calm, short message. "I appreciate the clarity you've given me. Take care." And that's it. No drama, no theatrics. Just a simple statement that says, "I see what you've shown me, and I'm moving on." You've just taken all the power out of his hands and put it back into yours. Now, some women hear this and think, "But if I don't tell him how he hurt me, how will he know?" Trust me, he knows. And if he doesn't know, it's because he doesn't care enough to understand. Which is even more reason to walk away. Remember, men don't change because you've explained their mistakes in 10 different ways. They change because they feel the loss of you in a way they can't ignore. The glow up as a response. Here's the fun part. While he's expecting you to be spiraling, you're investing that energy into yourself. You hit the gym, not to make him jealous, but because your health and confidence matter to you. You dive into your goals, not because you want him to see what he lost, but because your dreams are worth chasing. You upgrade your style, not to prove anything to him, but because you enjoy showing up for yourself. Jung believed deeply in individuation, the process of becoming the person you're meant to be by integrating all aspects of yourself. Choosing peace over chaos is part of that process. You're not just removing someone from your life, you're reclaiming the parts of yourself you may have lost while trying to make them happy. And here's the irony. When he sees you thriving without him, it will confuse him. Not because he thinks you're incapable, but because he built a story in his mind where he was central to your happiness. Now he's forced to rewrite that story, and in the new version, he's not even in the picture. Why this works better than revenge. It's tempting to want to make him regret what he did, to post subtle messages online, to show off in ways you hope will reach him. But that's still letting him occupy mental space. That's still giving him the power to dictate your moves. True power isn't in making someone regret losing you. It's in genuinely not caring whether they regret it or not. Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That's the energy you carry when you walk away with dignity. You're not letting what he did define you. You're defining yourself, independent of his presence or absence. The psychological impact on him. Men who thrive on control crumble when they lose access to your emotions. If he can no longer pull you into an argument, he starts to lose his grip. If he can't get you to react, he can't gauge how much you still care. That uncertainty eats away at him in a way no angry text ever could. He might reach out just to check in. He might try to provoke you with passive-aggressive comments or sudden interest in your life. But if you've truly detached, you won't feel the need to respond in kind. You'll recognize these attempts for what they are, fishing for proof that he still matters to you. And you'll let the line go slack. Walking away is the final word. At the end of the day, the most powerful move is to walk away as if you were never fazed. Not because you didn't care, but because you care about yourself more. You're not here to prove your worth to someone who already showed you they can't appreciate it. You're here to protect your peace, your joy, and your energy. When you operate from that mindset, you become untouchable. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's full of self-respect. Your absence isn't punishment, it's liberation. And your glow-up isn't revenge, it's evolution. Let's talk about why silence is so unsettling to someone who's wronged you. Because it's not just about ignoring them or playing it cool. It's about triggering a part of human psychology that most people don't even realize they respond to. When someone does you wrong, especially in relationships, they expect a certain script to play out. They hurt you, you react. They either defend themselves, justify their actions, or try to smooth things over just enough to maintain control. That's the loop. That's the dance they're used to. But when you step out of that loop entirely, it's like the music stops, and they're left standing in awkward silence. No rhythm to follow. No quiz to respond to. That's where the confusion begins. Silence as a mirror. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When you give someone silence, you hand them a mirror. And mirrors can be terrifying for people who aren't ready to see themselves clearly. See, as long as you're arguing, pleading, or explaining, they can focus on your behavior instead of theirs. They can deflect, project, or minimize. But when there's nothing coming from you, no emotional outburst to point to, they have to sit with the weight of their own actions. And sitting with yourself is uncomfortable when you know you've been wrong. That discomfort, that's where reflection begins. And not everyone can handle it. Why they chase the drama. There's a reason some men will intentionally provoke you after doing you wrong. They'll send a half apology that leaves out the most important parts. They'll drop a comment on your post. They'll accidentally bump into you somewhere. Why? Because any reaction, even a negative one, confirms that they still have an emotional hold over you. Think about it. If you're yelling, if you're posting indirect quotes, if you're interrogating him for answers, he doesn't have to wonder how you feel. He knows you still care enough to engage, and that's all the power he needs. But silence? Silence leaves him guessing. And people hate uncertainty when it comes to their own importance. The ego and the need for control. Jung said, "The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense." not between right and wrong. In other words, human behavior isn't always about truth or morality, it's often about what makes us feel secure in the moment. For a man who's used to having emotional control in a relationship, your silence throws him into unfamiliar territory. When the usual patterns break, the ego starts to panic. Why isn't she reacting? Did she stop caring? Did someone else get her attention? That panic is often masked as anger, confusion, or sudden concern for you. But at its root, it's the realization that he no longer dictates the emotional climate. Shadow work, what your silence forces. One of Jung's most profound concepts is the shadow, the parts of ourselves we suppress, deny, or refuse to acknowledge. For someone who's hurt you, their shadow might include guilt, selfishness, or insecurity. They don't want to face these traits, so they distract themselves with your reaction. Your tears become the focus. Your anger becomes the storyline. They avoid their shadow by keeping the spotlight on you. When you go silent, you remove that distraction. Suddenly their shadow starts to creep in. I was selfish. I crossed the line. I underestimated her. Whether they admit it to themselves or not, the silence you hold is an invitation for their shadow to speak. And that's not an easy conversation for anyone to have with themselves. Why silence feels like loss. Loss isn't always about someone physically leaving your life. It can be about losing access, losing the ability to influence, to control, to provoke a reaction. For someone who's wronged you, your detachment feels like a door slamming shut. And here's where psychology kicks in. People often value what they no longer have access to more than what's readily available. This is why, paradoxically, your absence often makes a bigger impact than your presence ever did. Jung hinted at this when he said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Your silence isn't a statement, it's an action. And actions are harder to argue with. The strength behind detachment. Now, let's be clear. Silence is not about pretending you don't care. It's about caring for yourself more than you care about making them understand. It's about recognizing that no amount of explanation will teach someone to value you if they don't already see your worth. Detachment is a skill. It's not coldness. It's not bitterness. It's the conscious choice to stop pouring your energy into a situation that drains you. It's about closing a chapter, not slamming the book on someone's hand in revenge. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming your most authentic self, requires withdrawing energy from relationships and patterns that no longer serve you. This isn't selfishness. It's self-preservation, turning silence into self-growth. The key is what you do with your silence. If you're just sitting in it, scrolling through old messages, replaying scenarios in your head, you're not truly detached. You're just quiet on the outside while chaos brews inside. But if you take that silence and turn it inward, if you use it to learn, to heal, to invest in yourself, then it becomes the most powerful tool you have. You're not avoiding the situation. You're elevating beyond it. Carl Jung put it perfectly. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Your silence isn't about ignoring what happened. It's about choosing who you want to be in the aftermath. And that choice says more than any argument ever could. What happens when they realize you've moved on? At first, they might think your silence is temporary. They might convince themselves you're just cooling off before coming back. But as time passes and they see you're not chasing, not fishing for attention, not engaging in any way, the reality begins to set in. That's when the regret hits. That's when they start remembering the good moments and overlooking the bad. Not because they've suddenly changed, but because your absence is now a void they can't fill. And here's the twist. You won't even care by then. By the time they realize what they lost, you'll have already leveled up mentally and emotionally. You'll be so invested in your own growth that their regret won't hold the weight it once would have. Silence is freedom. Ultimately, silence isn't about confusing them. It's about freeing yourself. It's about stepping out of the emotional tug-of-war and reclaiming your peace. When you stop reacting, you stop being controlled. When you detach, you open up space for better connections, healthier relationships, and deeper self-awareness. And as Jung reminded us, until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your silence is a way of making the unconscious conscious. You're no longer running on reactive patterns. You're making deliberate choices about where your energy goes, and that's where true power lies. By now you've learned that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. You've seen how detachment strips away someone's power over you and forces them to confront themselves. But here's where the real transformation begins. Deciding what you're going to do with the emotional energy you've taken back. Because walking away is just step one. The glow up is step two, and it's the step that changes everything. Why the glow up works. When someone wrongs you, especially in a relationship, they may unconsciously expect you to shrink. They expect you to lose your spark, lose confidence, and lose focus. That way they can validate their choice to hurt or leave you. See? She's nothing without me. But when you choose to rise instead, when you redirect your energy into becoming the best version of yourself, you flip the narrative completely. Now, instead of confirming their low expectations, you surpass them. And here's the thing. This isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That's the essence of the glow-up. It's not surface-level revenge. It's the deliberate evolution into the fullest expression of yourself. Physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Step 1. Physical elevation. Let's start with the obvious. The outer glow. No, it's not the most important part, but it's the most immediately visible, and it often serves as a catalyst for deeper change. When you're hurt, your body often carries the stress. Poor sleep, lack of energy, tension in your posture. Prioritizing your physical health isn't just about looking good. It's about reclaiming control over the one thing you always have direct power over. Your own body. Move daily, whether it's the gym, yoga, running, dancing, or walking. Movement releases endorphins, clears mental fog, and reshapes not just your physique, but your energy. Upgrade your style. Wear what makes you feel magnetic. Not for attention, not for validation, for you. Clothes are armor, and confidence is the weapon. Nourish your body. Eat in a way that sustains your mood and vitality. The better you feel physically, the more your mindset sharpens. The key? Approach this from a place of self-love, not punishment. You're not trying to show him. You're showing you that you can thrive without anyone's approval. Step 2. Mental mastery. The mind is where most breakups are won or lost. You can walk away physically, but if you're still replaying the hurt in your head, you haven't truly detached. Jung emphasized, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is the time to make the unconscious conscious, to identify the patterns that allowed you to tolerate what you shouldn't have. Journal daily. Dump your thoughts onto paper without judgment. This externalizes your inner world so you can see it clearly. Educate yourself. Read books on psychology, relationships, and self-mastery. The more you understand human behavior, the harder it is for anyone to manipulate you again. Reframe the story. Stop seeing yourself as the victim of what happened and start seeing yourself as the hero who learned, grew, and evolved because of it. Mental mastery isn't about erasing the past. It's about making peace with it, so it no longer owns you. Step 3. Emotional alignment. Your emotions are powerful when they're in balance. After hurt, it's easy to operate from a place of defense, shutting people out or keeping walls too high. But the glow-up isn't about hardening, it's about softening in the right ways. Jung taught that wholeness comes from integrating, not rejecting, the parts of ourselves we've been taught to hide. If the hurt made you feel too vulnerable, too trusting, too loving, don't kill those traits. Protect them with boundaries, yes, but keep them alive. Your ability to love deeply is not a flaw. It's your superpower. You just have to direct it toward those who can hold it with care. Practice mindful emotional processing. When you feel a wave of anger or sadness, acknowledge it without judgment. Let it pass without attaching to it. Gratitude lists, not as toxic positivity, but as a reminder that life still holds beauty beyond this person. Boundaries without walls. Learn to say no, without guilt, and yes, without fear. Step 4. Spiritual grounding. This is the part of the glow-up that changes the game. Completely. Because when your spirit is anchored, no one can shake you. For some, spirituality is religion. For others, it's meditation, nature, art, or simply self-reflection. Whatever form it takes, grounding yourself spiritually reminds you that your worth is not defined by anyone else's ability to see it. Jung believed that the spiritual journey was essential to individuation, that without a connection to something larger than ourselves, we remain fragmented. Hurt from others often forces us into this journey, because it strips away the illusions we've built around where our happiness comes from. Spiritual grounding can look like meditation or prayer, time in nature, practicing compassion, even for those who hurt you. This doesn't mean letting them back in. Creative expression. The deeper your spiritual roots, the higher you can grow without toppling over when life shakes you. Why the glow-up confuses them. Here's the delicious irony. While you're doing all this work, they're probably still expecting you to be stuck on them. They're expecting posts about heartbreak, mutual friends saying you're struggling, maybe a late-night message from you when the loneliness hits. But instead they see a woman who's smiling brighter, moving with more confidence, and radiating peace. And here's the kicker. They can't tell if you're putting on a show, or if you genuinely don't think about them anymore. That uncertainty? It's psychological. Torture for someone whose ego thrived on being your center of gravity. The glow-up as self-reclamation. This is why the glow-up is powerful. It's not about revenge, it's about reclamation. You're reclaiming your time, your focus, your self-worth, your joy. By the time they realize what's happened, you're no longer the same person they knew. And even if they wanted to come back, they couldn't connect with you the way they once did, because you've outgrown the version of yourself that tolerated them. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." The glow-up is your journey toward that terrifying, exhilarating acceptance. When you know yourself, your worth, your strengths, your flaws, you stop needing someone else to validate you. You stop begging for love that should be given freely. From glow-up to greatness. The glow-up is not the end goal. It's the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. It's the phase where you prove to yourself that your life doesn't just go on, it gets better. And here's the final truth. Once you've reached this level of self-mastery, you stop even caring about whether he regrets losing you. Because the real win isn't in his regret, it's in your freedom. There's a moment, a very specific moment, that changes the entire dynamic after you've walked away. It's not the day you stop talking to him. It's not the day you post a photo looking stunning. It's not even when you block his number. The moment it truly hits him is when he realizes that you've moved on. Not in words, not in appearances, but in your energy. That's the moment a man understands he's lost access. And trust me, nothing shakes him more than that. The timeline of realization. Most men who wrong a woman have a timeline in their heads. They think, she's mad now, but give it a few days or weeks, she'll come around. If not then, they think, maybe a month or two, she'll soften. If not then, they think, I can always reach out when I'm ready. She's not going anywhere. This assumption comes from ego and pattern. Ego tells him he's too important to be forgotten. Pattern tells him that in the past, women he's hurt still gave him another chance. So he operates with the illusion of time. He believes the door is always slightly open. And that's why the moment he sees it's closed and locked from the inside, hits like a freight train. Why energy speaks louder than actions. A lot of people try to show they've moved on by posting certain things, dating someone new right away, or making big lifestyle changes. But here's the problem. If those moves are fueled by the need to be seen by him, he can still sense that you're not truly over it. Real moving on is an energy shift. It's when you stop thinking about him when you wake up. When your decisions are no longer influenced by how he might perceive them. When your silence isn't strategic, it's simply natural. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The moment your unconscious energy toward him is gone, You've made a conscious decision to redirect it into your own life. That shift is unmistakable, and he will feel it, even without direct contact. The mirror of detachment. Earlier we talked about silence acting like a mirror. Well, true detachment is like smashing that mirror in front of him. Suddenly there's no reflection of his influence in your life anymore. You're not reacting, not referencing, not revolving around him. You've stepped into a world where his presence, or absence, has no measurable effect. That absence of reflection is deeply unsettling to someone whose identity was partly built on being important to you. Jung would say this forces a confrontation with the shadow. In this case, the shadow of insignificance. He has to face the idea that he wasn't as essential as he believed. Signs, he realizes you're really gone. When a man starts to sense this shift, his behavior often changes quickly. Random check-ins, short "hey," or just thinking about you. Texts to gauge your openness. Social media pokes, likes, comments, or even unfollowing, refollowing you to get your attention. Indirect messages, talking to mutual friends, hoping they'll report back to you. Sudden self-improvement, dramatic claims of personal change, hoping it will spark your curiosity. The irony? By the time these things happen, you're already in a headspace where none of it moves you. You've replaced the emotional pull he had with your own self-focus. Why it hits harder than anger. Men can handle your anger. In fact, some even find comfort in it, because it means they still matter to you emotionally. But indifference? Indifference is emotional death to the ego. Carl Jung warned, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." This applies here in a slightly different way. The greatest blow to the ego is realizing someone is living a full, vibrant life without you, and doing it better than before. It's not that he wants you back necessarily, it's that he can't stand the idea of no longer having access to the person who once gave him so much. The psychological chain reaction. When he senses your energy is gone for good, several things happen in his mind. 1. Disbelief. He tries to convince himself you're faking it, that you still care deep down. 2. Panic. The always open door theory crumbles, and he realizes he might have overplayed his hand. 3. Nostalgia. He starts remembering the best moments, while conveniently forgetting the reasons you left. 4. Regret. Not necessarily for losing you at first, but for losing his position in your life. 5. Recognition. Finally, if he's self-aware enough, he understands that he let something rare slip away. The tragic part for him? By the time he reaches recognition, you've already crossed into a place where his presence is irrelevant. Why you won't even notice. Here's the beauty of the glow-up and detachment. You'll be so focused on your own path that his realization won't register as a big event in your life. You won't be sitting there waiting for the moment it hits him. It will come and go without your involvement. This is the real liberation. You're not living in reaction to his journey anymore. You're living your own story, and he's just a closed chapter. When the regret comes too late, sometimes he'll try to re-enter your life after realizing what he lost. He'll make promises, show signs of change, maybe even admit to things you never thought you'd hear him acknowledge. But here's what you'll understand by then. Regret doesn't equal compatibility. An apology doesn't mean the story should restart. Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." By the time he's trying to come back, you've already chosen who you're becoming, and that version of you doesn't need what he offers anymore. Your detachment is his teacher. Whether he learns from it or not isn't your responsibility. But make no mistake, your absence teaches more than your presence ever could, because lessons delivered in silence echo the longest. When you stop trying to teach him with your words and instead live your truth, you become an unspoken reminder of what he can't get back. Living beyond the moment. The goal isn't to make him realize what he lost. The goal is to get to a place where you no longer care whether he does. That's the win. Because when you're free from needing his validation, positive or negative, you're truly untouchable. And that's when the most ironic thing happens. The moment he finally gets it is the same moment. You've moved so far ahead that his understanding doesn't matter. You've gone silent. You've detached. You've glowed up. You've lived long enough for him to realize you're truly gone. And now, Now you've arrived at the place most people never reach after heartbreak. Peace. This isn't the fragile, on-edge peace that can be shaken by a text or a photo. This is the deep, grounded peace that comes when you no longer need closure, no longer crave revenge, and no longer measure your worth by who chooses to stay or go. It's the stage Carl Jung would call individuation, becoming the complete, authentic version of yourself, not defined by anyone else. Why peace is the ultimate power move. Revenge looks powerful from the outside. Peace is powerful from the inside. Revenge still ties you to them. It's just anger in a prettier dress. But peace? Peace means their name doesn't change your heartbeat. It means you can remember them without bitterness, not because you condone what they did, but because it no longer holds power over you. Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This is what peace really is. Full acceptance. Of yourself. Of your past. Of the fact that you survived it and became better. How you know you've reached this stage. There are certain unmistakable signs that you've crossed into this final phase. 1. No emotional spike. Their name, face, or news about them doesn't trigger an emotional high or low. It's just neutral. 2. No curiosity. You don't check their social media or ask mutual friends about them. Their life is no longer your business. 3. No hidden agenda. You're not making life choices with the subconscious hope they'll notice. 4. No rewriting the past. You don't fantasize about if-only scenarios. You accept that it happened exactly as it did, and it shaped you exactly as it needed to. This is the moment where you realize the victory was never in getting over them, it was in getting back to you. The trap of revenge and why you dodged it. A lot of people confuse winning a breakup with making the other person regret losing them. The problem is that still puts the other person at the center of your story. You're still measuring your success by their reaction, but when you live for their regret, you're just building a different kind of prison. And in that prison, they still hold the key, because you're waiting on them to give you the satisfaction you crave. Jung warned, what you resist persists. If you resist letting go, if you resist forgiving, not for them, but for yourself, then the emotional loop never breaks. That's why choosing peace is the most rebellious thing you can do. It breaks the loop completely. Peace changes the type of love you attract. When you've gone through all the stages, silence, detachment, glow up, total moving on, you stop attracting the kind of people who thrive on chaos. Because the energy you give off says, I am whole on my own. Whole people attract other whole people. And even if you encounter someone who tries to test your boundaries again, you'll spot the red flags faster, and you won't negotiate your standards down to keep them. This is the part where dating and relationships become lighter, easier, and less anxious, because you know you'll never lose yourself in someone else again. When he sees the peace, ironically, peace is the stage that impacts him more than any other. Why? Because he realizes that not only have you moved on, but you've moved on without resentment. You don't need him to suffer. You don't even need him to understand. And that's when it truly sinks in. He has no access to you. On any level, not physical, not emotional, not mental, not even as the villain in your story. You've closed the book. For some men, that's when regret turns into respect. For others, it just deepens the loss. But for you, it doesn't matter. You've stopped keeping score. Jung's final lesson in this journey. Carl Jung's teachings echo through every stage we've covered. But here's the one that sums up the transformation best. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You were hurt, but that's not who you are. You walked away, but that's not your identity either. Who you choose to become after it all. That's the defining factor. By choosing peace, you've chosen not to be defined by the betrayal, the breakup, or the loss. You've chosen to define yourself by your resilience, your growth, and your wholeness. The legacy of detachment. This journey isn't just about one relationship. Once you've mastered the art of detachment and peace, it seeps into every area of life. You handle conflict at work with calm instead of panic. You let friendships go when they become toxic without drama. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You stop chasing people who clearly don't want to be caught. You become unshakable, not because you're cold, but because you're rooted. Your story from here. The best part? You get to decide what your life looks like now. Maybe you travel. Maybe you start a business. Maybe you fall in love again, or maybe you stay single and fall in love with your own company. Whatever you do it from a place of fullness, not lack. You no longer see relationships as a way to complete you, but as a way to complement you. And when people meet you now, they won't just see someone beautiful or confident. They'll feel your peace. That's the kind of presence that turns heads without even trying. Silence was the first step. Detachment was the weapon. The glow-up was the transformation. His realization was the turning point. But peace? Peace is the crown you wear after it's all said and done. No one can take it from you, and no one can fake it. And when you have it, you stop fearing loss because you finally understand that the only thing you ever truly needed was already inside you. If this spoke to you, there's more where that came from. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next deep dive on self-worth, emotional mastery, and relationships through the lens of psychology and personal power. Your glow-up isn't just a phase, it's a lifestyle. Let's build it together.